Hey folks, the Comics Kid 2099 here, and just like every Saturday, I'm here to talk about an episode of a superhero animated series. Today, I'll be talking about the Season 2 episode of Batman Beyond titled Final Cut. If you haven't seen the episode and you don't like spoilers, you should go watch it before you finish this video. Or if you don't mind the spoilers, or if you've seen the episode already but it's been a while, then you can get refreshed as I briefly sum up the episode before I get into the review. Curare, who we last saw in A Touch of Curare, is almost finished hunting down every last member of the Society of Assassins. As was established in her debut episode, if a member of the society fails in their mission, they are hunted by their fellow assassins. The last member of the society comes to Batman and asks for protection. If Batman refuses, or if he fails to protect him, then a bomb he planted somewhere in Gotham will blow up. Even though Batman isn't able to protect the assassin, he and his friend Max are able to stop the bomb from going off. Cue credits. Okay, so my first complaint is a big complaint I had in the Touch of Curare episode, so I'm going to try not to dwell on it too long here. But once again, I do not buy that Terry McGinnis would be able to fight and defeat Curare. You have Terry, who is a high school wrestler, and you have Curare, who has spent much, if not all of her adult life, training to be the best fighter and assassin on the planet. That's not a fight that Terry should ever be able to win, even if he has a suit with lots of mechanical advantages over someone without the suit. If I'm being honest, I felt like his victory was slightly more believable in Touch of Curare than it is here, just because in Touch of Curare, we're only told how awesome Curare is. But here, we see that she's taken out the Society of Assassins, and somehow Terry's able to knock her out and cuff her with very little trouble. Again, this is something I've complained about before, but it still bothers me here. Since I've already covered a negative, I should cover something I liked about the episode before I get into another negative. I really like that this series brings Curare back for another episode. I don't think that Curare is a sustainable villain for long-term use, especially as every time she shows up, I would still be thinking about how unlikely it is that a high school kid with no training could defeat her. But as this episode shows, she still had a story in her, and what's great about this is that she doesn't even need to be featured very much in the episode to make it work. She's more a catalyst to start the rest of the plot, while the assassin she's hunting and the bomb he planted are the main focus of the episode. And I also really appreciated that this episode made it very easy for anyone who hasn't seen Touch of Curare. It's been a little while since I saw that episode, and while I remembered the episode and all of the plot points while I was watching this episode, it occurred to me that whoever hasn't seen that episode, it wouldn't really be very weird or out of place when the exposition comes up when Batman is talking to the assassin who planted the bomb. It comes very naturally and early enough in the episode for anyone who is new to the show to quickly understand what's going on. This sort of thing isn't always easy. Take a look at an earlier episode of this series, Revenant, to see how the series sometimes makes it very difficult for people who haven't seen all of the previous episodes and might be tuning in for the first time. Terry's friend Max plays a very big part in this episode, and though I've really liked her in past episodes, I wasn't much of a fan this time around. Max does something incredibly stupid that ends up putting the entire city at risk. First, she sneaks into an assassin's apartment, where she then needs protection from another assassin. Seriously, Curare, you got Max confused for Australian Tim Curry? How? So Batman has to abandon the dude whose safety guarantees the safety of the entire city. And sure enough, while Batman is coming to Max's aid, which wasn't even needed by the time he got there, Curare is killing Australian Tim Curry. Well, if this bomb goes off, Max, the blood is on your hands. And I get the feeling the episode wants us to forgive Max for her stupidity, which lands them in this situation. But I'm really questioning why I should forgive her. Terry claims that he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. And while that's certainly true, it doesn't change the fact that it was because of Max that Terry had to abandon his post, which led to the dude who held the safety of the city in his hands going catatonic. And you would think after she royally screwed things up the first time, she would have learned her lesson. But once again, she demands to go with Batman into a dangerous situation, and once again, she's out of her element. She nearly dies about 50 billion times while Curare and Batman are slicing armaments out of the sky, and she ends up just yanking this bomb that's less than a second from going off out of its casing. That's a pretty cavalier approach you're taking to this sort of thing, Max. Maybe you could use your much-lauded intelligence to unplug the bomb instead. I would say this sort of plot where the civilian friend finds out their buddy is a hero and wants in on it but quickly finds him or herself in over their head is something that any superhero ongoing series has to deal with at some point. At least if you deal with a civilian friend finding out the secret identity, you would probably have to deal with this plot. But the problem is, this episode isn't even trying to end with Max realizing that she should leave the superhero stuff to Terry, who's been doing it for a little while longer and seems to be more sensible about it. No, after 2 times of her blundering nearly costing thousands of lives, both times the episode wants to write it off like it's no big deal. I think I I would have been much more forgiving of this entire subplot with Max if it ended with her saying, "You won't find me in the field anymore after this," or something to that effect. I did find Kurare's method of dealing with the Society of Assassins a little odd. On the one hand, this is a cartoon where the main demographic is going to be preteens and young teens, and parents who might be more aware of what their kids are watching aren't going to be super happy if they see a bad guy actually straight up murdering people on the screen. I get that. But then, this group is called the Society of Assassins. Even a little kid would know that these guys deal in death, so it shouldn't be that shocking to see Kurare killing these people, especially if they went the route some of the same creators went many years later in the animated Red Hood movie. Just show the killing stroke from off screen and we only see the shadows moving or something like that. And I should note that I am not someone who needs to see strong, scary violence in any medium, but when you're dealing with an assassin in a story and it is notably removed for no real reason that impacts the story in any way, that does irk me a little bit. I think that's about all I have to say about this episode of Batman Beyond. Despite a lot of problems I had in this episode, I did enjoy it, though it isn't one of the best episodes of this series. It's also not one of the worst episodes by a long shot. It's pretty middle of the road, I guess, which might sound like a half-hearted compliment, but that is how I feel. So I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, you're in luck because next weekend I'll be talking about an episode of Batman the Animated Series, and the weekend after that I'll be talking about another episode of Batman Beyond. And I'm also doing other videos throughout the week, so be sure to check those out as well. And if you did like this video, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. In the meantime, have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.